Coming up in this episode of Shadowcast, the Shadow Team drivers take on the fans at Silverstone. Lando joins Bono and Enzo for a very messy hot lap around Spa. Part 1 of our jargon-busting sim racing glossary. Phil goes mobile with Real Racing 3. Win a McLaren HTC Vive headset. And Bono's here in the studio for a chat and to post a time in our hot lap challenge. Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Shadowcast, the monthly Shadow Project show where sim racing and real motorsport collide. Today we've got Bono in the studio with us. Thank you so much for coming to join me here. How has your trip in been? Has it been all good?
Yeah, it's been quite a journey to get here, but yeah, finally got here and good to be here.
And how are you coping with the heat?
I'm alright, I like the heat. I love it.
Likewise, I don't understand why everyone's complaining so much.
Yeah, a little bit of heat and everybody loses their minds. So.
Exactly. So the draft was a couple of weeks ago. What did you think?
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, last year I saw it from home, so this year was quite a different experience. So to be there as a scout for McLaren, basically trying to pick a good third driver. Yeah, it was fun being there, watching the races, looking out for talent, and yeah, we got our guy in the end.
So what do you think of your new team member?
Good. We already raced against him last year. He was driving for Sauber, so we know him pretty well, that he's quick and he's really good. So we interviewed him. We were very impressed with what he had to say and basically how straightforward he was, like just very honest and what he wanted from us, and we were very clear on what we wanted from him, so that was very good. We were very impressed right after the interview and basically said like we want him, and to get him in the end was quite nice because he could have got picked as well by other teams because we got 7th choice, so yeah, to get him in the end was really good and very happy that we got him. Yeah.
Awesome, a lovely diplomatic answer. So you were also at Silverstone for the first, or for your first British Grand Prix. What was that like?
It was my first F1 race actually, so the first time at an F1 race and first time at the paddock, so it was quite an amazing experience. Really fun, got a tour in the garage and stuff like that, so watched the race from a nice place, so it was a really good race as well, so amazing first race to see live.
And then you mentioned like taking a peek at the garage, like what was that like?
Yeah, it was very special. I mean, to always see F1 on TV, but to be very close now to the cars and actually touching them and stuff like that, so it was very special, very thankful for that opportunity from McLaren, so hoping there's more to come in the future. But yeah,
we should certainly hope so. Yeah. No, it sounds like you had a great time. We're really glad. So, before all of that, Bono, I understand you met up with Lando and had a race. Could you go into details without spilling too much?
Yeah, we had a little hot lap challenge at Silverstone on the rig. We did Spa, so everybody got one lap shootout, and in the end, who was the quickest we'll see now, I guess.
I kind of want to see what happened there. Should we take a look?
Let's see.
Awesome.
Lando Norris had a pretty packed schedule during race weekend at Silverstone, as you might imagine from a British Formula 1 driver. But a driver's competitive spirit knows no bounds. So when he caught sight of shadow racers Bono and Enzo running a few laps of Spa at the McLaren Brand Centre, well, what was he going to do? Just walk by? No, obviously, Lando had to hop in the sled and show them how it was done. In a fierce and totally fair and above board F1 2019 race-off. Okay, take it away, Lando.
Sitting very far back here, right? Oh my god, look at that delta. Freaking nearly it, mate.
The McLaren driver causes a stir right away, nailing the braking point into turn 1. It's almost like he's been here before and finished second in the 2018 F2 race.
You know exactly where to brake. Well, yeah, it's Spa. I've been there before, mate. Yeah? Yeah, real life.
There's a drama in the first chicane though, as he strays a bit too far off track for the game's liking.
That doesn't matter. It doesn't count. It does.
So the lap doesn't count. Or does it? A unanimous decision is not reached. It's looking pretty tidy from Lando though through Bruxelles and Double Gauche into Sector 2. But on the last chicane there's more controversy. Did he stray too far off track again?
Shut up. 48-1.
The stewards are silenced. Right, that's a 148-1 then. Well done, Lando. Now it's Enzo's turn to restore the honour of sim racers. He's got the chance to beat an F1 driver at literally his own game. But can he manage it? And will he even get the chance?
What are you doing? What are you doing? Oi! No, you have to drive it.
There's a bit of a disagreement about the driving view, which is resolved in a super serious FIA officiated manner. Then it's time for Enzo's lap. He begins by taking a different line out of the chicane for a better drive onto the straight. Wouldn't get away with that in F1, would he, Lando? That's looking handy through La Source though, and into Eau Rouge. That's ruddy on actually.
Just got done for blocking the next guy, mate. You've seen how I drove.
Yeah, that's true.
Hang on though, Enzo's asking for some tips about the Le Fonge S's.
Is this flat?
Yeah.
Oh, it's flat! It's flat! It's flat!
My excuses, guys.
Disaster. That's really going to cost some time. Enzo took the S's flat out, which he totally can, right, Lando? And he's paid the price.
Can I do my lap again?
No, one shot.
What do you mean?
He's 2 seconds down when he regains control, but he's got a plan. Yeah, this is his plan.
Enzo, you meant to be professional.
One way to do it, I suppose, although probably not the best tactic to ensure a Christmas card from Lando.
For camera, you can't be doing that.
No one saw it. Where?
Enzo's time is a 1:47.0, although at this point we've given up trying to maintain order and chaos has prevailed. Over to you, Bono.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he knows everything now. Easy life for you.
Yeah.
And he's got the privilege of testing out Lando's innovative new force feedback racing seat, patent pending. Lucky boy, that'll definitely make him quicker. Actually, it seems to be working. After losing a tiny bit of time at La Source, Bono's right back on track with Enzo's ghost at Les Combes.
Trying to take the ghost.
Look at this guy going. Oh! Oh! We have a winner! We have a winner!
We said that about you, Enzo.
But now then, what's this? Looks like two fine, upstanding competitors privately agreeing to let Bono race the rest of the lap in peace to me. Right, guys? Right, guys? Oh, forget it. Forget it.
This is kind of losing time.
Bono rounds off an impressive lap under tricky conditions, but Enzo's line, if you could call it that, through the chicane proves unbeatable, so Bono crosses the line 3/10 down. However, seeing as both he and Lando failed to complete the lap fairly, it's Bono who takes the prize, coming in with a 1:47.330.
So, second round?
Let's go to the post-race press conference now to speak to the real winner of the day.
Yeah, the lap with Lando went really well. I won, so I'm happy with that. Yeah, it is true. It is true, Enzo. Enzo cheated. He cut the last chicane a lot. He gained like 10 seconds. So I won, fair and square. Really happy with it.
Yeah, my outlap against Lando and Bono was pretty good. I won, so can't say no, I didn't win. But technically I won because I was leading by 4/10 over the others. But then Lando distracted me and I spun. So after spinning I was 2 seconds slower. But then I cut the final chicane of Spa, went completely straight and won. So I don't know, it's a win-lose situation. But yeah, it was good overall.
It's safe to say that the real winners there were fair play and sportsmanship, weren't they? Back to you in the studio, Shay.
Amazing. So basically, Enzo cheated his way through that.
Yeah, he did, pretty much. All right. Basically cut it the whole chicane, the last chicane, so he gained like 10 seconds, but he had to make up for his mistake somehow, which he did, but yeah, it was good fun anyway. I mean, it's just a nice little hot lap challenge between the three of us, so good fun. I also had a little bit of extra force feedback in my chair.
I was going to say, there was a lot of interference from Lando.
Yeah, especially the last chicane was quite bumpy, so it was good fun.
But still, you made it through with like all of your integrity intact. I'm very proud.
Yeah, someone had to do that, so it was good fun, yeah.
If we're being real, if I was racing against Lando, I probably would have cheated as well. But as we all know, in competitive racing, cheating will not get you anywhere. The best way to win is to be really good. And now, Phil's going to teach us how to be really good at Real Racing 3, which, shock horror, I know, actually involves bending the rules, but definitely not cheating.
Are you looking to get quicker in Real Racing 3? You've pulled into the right garage. Here's a few pointers that will up your game and get you mixing with the upper end of those time trial leaderboards. The handling model in Real Racing 3 is all about maintaining grip. There are no speed boosts for drifting all the way around a corner here, just a massive loss of revs and a bunch of cars speeding past you. If you want to be quick, you have to avoid drifting at all costs. That means picking a braking point that will give you enough time and distance to steer into the corner apex with all 4 tyres maintaining traction, and being buttery smooth on the steering wheel like a lubed up Jensen button. Master this technique and you'll carry max speed through every turn, and the air will be free of burning rubber. Now that you've mastered the basics of braking points and smooth steering, it's time to take racing lines to the extreme. There's a little quirk in Real Racing 3 that lets you put 2 wheels off the track with little to no speed penalty, and that lets you take really aggressive lines into turns and straighten out tight angles. Heading out to the extreme outside of a turn just before the braking zone means that when you turn in, you'll have less of an acute angle on the way out, so you'll be able to step on the power earlier. Going outside track limits with all 4 wheels will really scrub your speed off, however, so there's a bit of risk reward to this technique. There are loads of cars in Real Racing 3 and they all have their own handling characteristics. In fact, those individual traits are as pronounced here as in any racing sim, so it pays to really spend some time with your car of choice and get to know what it's capable of. Braking distances and traction limits are the biggies here. That Nissan Silvia you started the game with might need 200 metres to slow for that last chicane at Suzuka, but hypercars and track vehicles need half that, despite carrying much more speed along the straight. Adjust accordingly. Look, watching replays isn't as fun as racing, and there's nothing we can say to convince you otherwise. However, you can learn a lot from watching yourself racing and figuring out the exact points in each track when you could have gone quicker. It makes sense, doesn't it? Because when you're racing, you're spending a lot of brain power on coordinating your control inputs, watching the track and reacting to the car's behaviour, while you're also trying to spot braking points and apexes. But when you watch that footage back, your brain's no longer under load. It's free to really watch the car's behaviour and figure out where you could have carried more speed, where you brake too early or too late, and which lines into turns could be improved. Next time you head into a time trial with that exact same car and track, you'll be armed with all the knowledge you need to extract the maximum out of both. Those are our pointers for gaining some extra speed on the track in Real Racing 3. Stick to the track like glue, push the track limits hard even if it means going 2 wheels off piste, focus on nailing the characteristics of one car in particular, and get stuck into replay mode to watch your performances for clues on where to carry more speed. What did you make of our tips? Let us know if they helped you out or if you have any of your own in the comments below.
Some top tips from Phil there, although to be honest, I wouldn't be quite as relaxed about popping 2 wheels off the track in a McLaren myself. Wonder if he's been taking any tips from Lando. So Bono, do you have any top tips for Real Racing 3? Please don't say cut the corners.
Yeah, basically it applies to every other game. Like for racing, what I have done in my career, let's say, is to always look at other drivers, try and pick stuff up from what they're doing, like lines-wise, driving line-wise, or gears or whatever, how they're going to throttle, brakes, small little things that can make a big difference in the end. So always trying to look at the top guys, see what they do, try and pick stuff up, apply it to your own driving style, and just improve your own ability in that, and just practice. I mean, it all comes down to that in the end. The more laps you do, the more feeling you will get, so it all comes down to that as well in the end.
Awesome, some very sage advice there. Alright, let's head back to Silverstone for the main event.
Silverstone, birthplace of Formula 1, home of British motorsport since 1950, and host to one of the most exciting F1 races in 2019. It's a circuit so steeped in history you can actually smell it. Go on, have a whiff.
It's a video. I don't think anyone's going to be able to smell anything.
Right, yeah, I knew that. The point is, Silverstone's seen a hell of a lot of motorsport action over the years, but recently it's also been home to a new strand of racing, esports. This year, shadow racers Bono and Enzo are here to race against the best and brightest in sim racing, and they are here to win. Well, win and soak up a bit of the atmosphere.
I mean, it's my first time here in an F1 race, so to be in the paddock as well is quite nice. Very nice to be here to see all the famous people and all the legends, basically. Just see them walking by, and it's like the most normal thing in the world, so it's quite special. But yeah, fun to be here. I think the race tomorrow should be even more fun, so looking forward to that.
It's a decent gig, isn't it, this Shadow lark? So how exactly does a professional sim racer prepare for an event like this?
Just basically jumping in the rig and go for it. You have to be there, like from the first second, you have to perform. So in order to do that, you have to prepare at home quite a lot. So we did spend a lot of time together last week, just preparing Silverstone and doing some laps together and spending time on Discord together and stuff like that.
No, I don't really have any rituals. I mean, you just do lots of laps and yeah, training basically. Other than that, I think something that might help with focusing on the game even more. Maybe some gym, maybe eating healthy, but other than that, it's really nothing else.
Well, prep time's over, lads. The main event's upon us, so let's head to the starting grid. Enzo and Bono both get nice clean starts, despite a suicidal Racing Point taking a pretty unorthodox line in front of Bono off the grid. Enzo rubs tyres with Sally Saltunch's Alfa Romeo through Abbey and Farm, but holds his line, and ultimately Saltunch has to run wide. Very wide. Otherwise, it's all going to plan for the Shadow Boys on lap 1, with Enzo holding P2 from the nippy young German Marcel Kiefer, and Bono biding his time in P5. Kiefer closes in on the back of our Enzo going into lap 2, however, forcing him into a brake lockup and some defensive lines, but he's able to hold on to that second podium spot. Meanwhile, Bono's making good ground on Daniel Beresne in the other Alpha. That's how things stay into lap 3 as DRS is enabled, and even though Enzo's in range for the pursuing Marcel, he keeps a death grip on P2. On lap 4 though, Marcel gets close enough to put a move on Enzo into Brooklands, but Enzo plays it smart and lets Marcel keep the inside line, which turns into the outside line through the Luffield right-hander. He emerges onto the back straight in P2, but that scrap's lost him a second on race leader Jarno Ottmeyer in the Renault, now over 2.5 seconds out in front. The fight's not over though. Marcel has DRS behind Enzo on that long hanger straight, and he pulls ahead of him to take the position through Stowe. There's some more fantastic driving from Enzo though through the chicane, positioning himself so he's got the inside line on the chicane exit and nearly takes the position back before the final lap starts. He's not quite close enough though and has to make do with tucking it in behind him as we enter lap 5. Despite his proximity, there aren't many overtaking opportunities through the faster sections of the lap, so it all comes down to that final chicane and, well, things get a bit messy. There's contact going into the left-hander and Enzo emerges ahead, while Marcel loses out not just to his teammate, but to Bono as well, who picks up P4 just before the finish line. Enzo picks up a time penalty for the collision though, and ultimately drops down into third. So it's a 3-4 finish for the Shadow team in an eventful and hotly contested race. Let's hear how it all went down from the drivers' perspectives.
I rear-ended someone else also, so...
You did get a penalty in the first race.
I did get a penalty,
Yeah.
it's a second penalty.
Dirty driver, yeah.
Yeah, well, but yeah, you know.
Happens, you know. Happens to the best of us.
I think I hit another pro driver at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, you got
Yeah,
the
it was
penalty in the pro race, yeah.
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 No, 5
corner.
laps. Yeah, last corner of the last lap. But yeah, let's not talk too much about that.
Yeah, I think I behaved myself quite well
He's
today.
a clean driver.
Yeah, I'm a clean driver. Yeah. Maybe I should get more aggressive and get my elbows out, so... I don't know, maybe in esports. We'll see.
And in such an intense environment, how do Bono and Enzo channel out the distractions and focus on the task at hand?
Yeah, it is really hard to get in the zone and to focus, because especially with these kind of rigs, you don't have any sound, so you couldn't hear your own car, so it's very difficult to focus on that and like have full control of your car. There's a lot of noise from the commentators, from the crowd, so it's very easy to get distracted. So yeah, that's the most difficult part, I would say, of these events. Yeah.
It's great to have such a grandstand, even for the pro race. Like it really felt like everyone was cheering for us. Like it was great.
The pair also took part in a race against members of the public who prevailed in a qualifier, and they turned out to be pretty handy round Silverstone too. So how was that?
I was quite surprised by the standard of the drivers. I mean, some did really well. I think they even finished like 5th or 6th in the second race, but it was a bit of a chaos, of course. It was a random grid as well, so the start was one big mess, so it's not really a true...
Say I got the fastest lap.
He did get the fastest lap though. I did beat him.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did.
Ah, yeah, you did.
Yeah.
So ends another day in the life of a shadow racer. Great surroundings, fierce racing, great fun. Congratulations on the result, guys. Here's to a 1-2 at the next one. Over to you, Shay.
So it looks like there was a little bit of a battle there between Enzo and Marcel Kiefer.
Yeah, a bit of a mess at the end. Enzo was, I think, a bit aggressive in that. He got an in-game penalty for it as well, so I didn't really see it from my point of view, so just saw it on the video. But yeah, took advantage of it, gained a position, so happy with that.
Opportunistic,
Yeah,
I like that.
gotta take advantage of that, so nearly got Enzo as well, so very nearly got him. But yeah, it was good fun, the whole event really, like with the fans involved and everything, so, and good to see the guys as well, like the other F1 esports drivers from last year who you race them on track, but you're actually quite good friends with them as well, so it's good to catch up with everybody.
So Bono, we're going to play a little bit of a game. In a minute, we're going to see part 1 of our guide to sim racing jargon, but we're pretty sure that you know what all of those words mean, right? I at least hope so. So, to change things up a bit, we're going to see how much you know about internet slang. You ready?
Yeah, I think so.
You look a bit nervous, you look a bit unsure. It'll be fine, it'll be a good time. So, I'm going to read out some of these words and I'm going to ask you to tell me what they mean. Are you ready?
Yes.
Cool. Nice and easy. Photobomb.
Photobomb, yeah, that's easy. When somebody in the background like destroys your picture or whatever.
Great.
Yeah.
Nice. It's a good place to start. Adorbs.
A what?
Adorbs.
Adorbs. Sounds like adorable or something. Like a short
Exactly.
version of that, yeah.
Nothing too terrible.
Okay.
Adorable.
Adorbs.
All good.
Alright.
Totes.
Totes. Totally. Like totes. I guess.
Yeah.
Something
That's
like that.
pretty standard
Mhm.
fare. I'm
Yeah.
going to do this like from my diaphragm. Yeet. Do you know what that means?
Yeet?
Yeah?
I have no idea.
No?
No.
Oh, was Vine not a thing for you?
Not really, no.
Oh man, like some of the best videos on the internet
Yeah.
came from Vine.
I think it died pretty quickly as well. So.
It did. It was like, unfortunately, maybe like my humor is just like really terrible. So goat, and not the
Goat,
animal.
Greatest of all time. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, does that mean anything to you?
What was that? Do it again.
Oh, nothing?
No.
No? I actually don't know if this means anything. At this point, I feel like it's just punctuation. Like, it's just like, oh, you know, like, I don't know, you look really good today, girl. Oh, and then that's that. That was really good. Do that again. Perfect.
Never heard that. Never heard that.
See, the world is full of confusing jargon, none more so than in sim racing. Here's Phil's guide to make sure you know your marbles from your fishtails.
The language of sim racing and motorsport in general can be insightful, useful, and even a bit poetic at times. But if you're not already fluent in it, it's not much use at all. So here's part 1 of our glossary containing all the words that get thrown around all the time in sim racing, but which might not make sense to newcomers. We've got a lot of ground to cover here, so let's take a deep breath and get into it. Aero is an abbreviation of aerodynamics, which is the study of forces exerted on an object as it passes through the air. Modern race cars are shaped to cut out the air as quickly as possible and to channel it advantageously to help the car's handling. Also, yes, obviously it is a chocolate bar too, but let's not let our minds drift off to food or we'll never fit in those bucket seats. Onwards to the apex. This is the point of the corner found in the middle of its inside line. It's almost always the point you want to hit when you turn in because it gives you the best angle for corner exit. Miss the apex and you'll be wearing the driver behind you like a backpack down the following straight. Which brings us neatly onto thank you conveniently placed text. A car running off the pace near the rear of the field is called a back marker. Come on, out of the way, mate. Actual good driver coming through here. Right, physics lesson. Most cars apply a bit more force to the front brakes than the rear. This helps the driver to avoid locking up the rear wheels since all the weight's at the front of the car and the rear is suddenly lighter. The brake bias describes that distribution of braking force and is usually expressed as a ratio like 60-40, which is ironically also my ratio of locking up and stacking it versus actually making the turn. But let's not dwell on that. Next, You'll hear the word compound a lot in F1 races in particular, but its meaning extends across all motorsport. It's just the composition of a tyre. Softer compounds give more grip but wear out quicker, whereas harder compounds are more durable at the expense of less grip. And next up is a good way to absolutely light up your tyres and wear them out very quickly indeed. Countersteering is a handy technique in which the driver turns the front wheels in the direction of a slide to prevent the car from spinning out of control. Never mind, you can always blame the frame skip or the guy behind, or even the guy in front. You see, when a car cuts through the air, it disrupts it. So when you follow behind a car, you're getting that disrupted, aerodynamically undesirable, dirty air. A bit like driving in a very localised tornado. Eat your heart out, Bill Paxton. From air slowing you down to air speeding you up now. Downforce is absolutely key in motor racing, and it really just refers to the downward force a car generates as it moves through the air. Downforce helps you stick to the track, which helps you turn in quicker and maintain grip through corners. Downshifting means changing down from high to low gearing in sequence, usually while braking in preparation for a turn. We love this one. Dropping the hammer is stepping on that accelerator pedal until it hits the floor for max acceleration. And we wouldn't recommend dropping the hammer for this next one. S's, like the famous Senna S's that begin the lap at Interlagos, are a series of left and right hand turns, one turn immediately following the other. Now then, fishtailing might sound like millennial dating slang, but thankfully for us all, it's a lot more straightforward than that. In fact, it's the movement of the rear of the car from side to side, usually because it's been unbalanced too far to one side or the other and the driver's trying to counter it. In other words, if you find yourself fishtailing, you've made a real mess of things and you're trying to correct it with minimum fuss. A bit like my dating experiences after all then. Another one for fans of dropping the hammer, shout out to you guys. Flat out means top speed, and it's usually used when talking about corners you don't need to lower your speed for. For example, can you do a rouge flat out? And is it Radeon actually? Force feedback is a sensation you feel through a PC steering wheel to simulate a car's behaviour. You can increase or reduce it in a racing sim's settings menu to suit your taste. Okay, hands up who hadn't heard this one before. Right, remind me to never get in a car with you. A hairpin is a sharp 180-degree turn which exits the opposite direction that a driver enters. And it's a lot more fun to take these when your car's hooked up. When you hook up a car, you've set it up perfectly and it's driving as well as can be. A lovely feeling to be savoured. That's where we conclude this sim racing glossary, but we'll be back with the latter half of the alphabet soon, so subscribe to the channel to make sure you don't miss it. And let us know your favourite racing sim terms below in the comments, as well as those, hand on heart, you've never really understood. No judging here. Over to you, Shay.
And now you're fluent in racing speak, or at least enough to order an Uber. Part 2 is coming in the next episode. So one of the biggest moments in your career is winning the Visa Vegas eRace 2017. What was that like?
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, to already qualify for it and go to Vegas was quite an experience. So to go there was amazing, and then to win it, like the biggest sim racing competition so far, unbelievable, really unbelievable experience, and it really changed my life in a way. Amazing, like Formula E did an amazing job at bringing in the real drivers as well, so it was a nice mix of real drivers and sim races, so it was quite a unique event as well. Really enjoyed it, yeah, and to win it, to
so
walk
how
away.
did you go about like preparing for that? So that's not something you stumble into at all.
Well, you had to practice a lot to qualify for it, but
Yeah.
to prepare for the actual event, you couldn't do much. Like,
Oh, wow.
the track was fictional, so it was Vegas. Vegas doesn't have a real track, of
Yeah.
course, so it was a fictional track that they only released on the day of the race itself. So basically, everybody started off from zero. So you couldn't do any practice at home or anything like that. So it was very difficult,
Yeah.
very unique as well. So to basically jump in and perform immediately and try to learn the track as quickly as possible was an amazing challenge. But yeah, I think that's where I like adapted the best of everyone. Like
Totally.
the quicker the lap, the quicker the event went on, the closer people got to me. So yeah, really enjoyed that. It was quite challenging, but really fun in the end. And to walk away with that prize was insane.
And talking of that prize, it was 200 grand, right?
Yeah, something like that.
So I have to ask, like, what did you do with it?
Not much yet. No.
Really?
Yeah.
It's responsible.
Yeah. So I'm looking to invest it soon. Looking at that, I'm not really that much of a spender, so trying to be wise with it and take the opportunity to invest it and basically profit from it.
Awesome. So responsible. I'm so jealous. So, as a seasoned pro, you're going to have some opinions on this next question. We asked the Shadow community what they thought the hardest corner in any sim racing game is. Bono, what are your thoughts on that?
It's probably gonna be the castle section at Baku. Baku is a pretty new track, so it's only been on the calendar in the fun for like 3 years, but it's a pretty unique track in the way that it's a street track, but very quick. The castle section is the smallest, tiniest, tightest section in the F1 calendar, so if you turn in too early, you hit the wall on the inside and you crash. If you turn in too late, you hit the wall on the outside and you crash. So it is the most difficult corner for me, and we did it last year at F1 Esports. I remember the first lap in qualifying, there was 3 cars stuck in the wall there. It is a really difficult corner because you have to be so precise there, and if one car crashes there, nobody can get through as well, so it's a very unique corner.
So let's see if your answer matches up with any of the ones we have here from the community. So at Jimby19 on Twitter says the turn 1 and Spa. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it is a hairpin, so braking is already very difficult, but the exit is really important. So the whole straight after, Eau Rouge, is flat out, so there's a whole long straight after, so how you come out of the corner is really important. So yeah, that's a very difficult corner to get right.
I would agree. Cheesy on Twitter says, any corner around Monaco on a pad, any game.
Yeah, Monaco is really difficult. I mean, you have to be so precise, so any corner there. If you turn in too early or too late, you're in the wall, so
oh dear.
It's definitely the most difficult track. One of the most difficult track for sure.
Cool. At T-Steve17, turn 1 on Brands Hatch ranks up there.
Yeah, really difficult corner because first you go uphill, then the whole corner is downhill, so you basically enter the corner blind, and then downhill the car gains a lot of momentum, so it's really difficult to keep it on the track there.
At M. Bartha, Eau Rouge.
No, it's easy. It depends though, it depends what car you do it in. If you do it in a fun car, it has so much downforce, so it's easy flat out. You can do it with your eyes closed. If you do it in a GT car or whatever, it's really heavy, it doesn't have a lot of downforce, you actually have to lift off, and then it becomes a real corner and a real challenge, and you can gain a lot of time in it.
Well, there you go. You've got some tips to get good yourself. So at Leighton Newen on Insta says, Maggots and Becker. It's Beckett's, actually.
Yeah, it is. Really difficult. You have to be really precise. Again, it's high speed, so depends what car you do it in. Again, F1 is a little bit easier because it has so much downforce, but GT cars, it's really slow and sluggish, so really difficult to get right. You can gain a lot of time to them, but also really fun. It's like the best part of the track as well.
Thank you so much for your input, and thank you at home for sending in your responses. If you have a burning question you need answering in the next edition of Shadowcast, get in touch with us by leaving a comment here on YouTube, or go to @McLaren on Instagram and Twitter.
The Shadowcast Hot Lap Challenge brings together 2 icons of British motorsport, Silverstone and the McLaren 720S GT3. Challengers will have 5 practice laps before putting the hammer down and giving it all they've got over one timed lap in R Factor 2. But who'll come away with the quickest lap and the bragging rights?
So speaking of maggots and Beckett's, it's time for our Shadowcast Hot Lap Challenge. Last episode, Rudy Van Buren did the first ever Shadowcast Hot Lap and took #1 spot on our leaderboard with a time of 1:59.1. Of course, he was the only one on the board at the time, so it's now time to see how you did. Are you ready to have a look?
Yes. Yeah, starting the lap here. So driving the 720S, very heavy, not a lot of downforce, you have to brake quite a lot for turn 1.
And was that your choice?
Messed it up. I went a bit wide there, so already lost some time there. Very important to get a good exit here because the straight after it is very long and missed the apex a little bit, so again, not too great. I don't think this lap is very good. So you brake a little bit before this board here, and you go all the way back to second gear. Went a little bit wide again. This corner is very difficult, the car doesn't really want to turn in, so you're just waiting and waiting for the car to turn, and then you go flat out on the power. So you're looking at the boards again on the left, use those as your reference, then brake here and go back to third gear, or fourth gear. Oh, went wide again. Yeah, not a great lap at all. This is Maggots and Beckett's, very quick, best section of the track. Very important to get a good exit from this again, because it's a long straight after. Going up through the gears again, and the final 2 corners of the lap. Second gear here, use all the track on the outside and the left. And then try and brake as late as possible here for the last 2 corners. Get the curve on the inside.
Yep.
And a good exit here. And that was the lap, which was, I think, pretty terrible.
Well, we'll see what your final time is. So I know you feel a little bit shaky about that, but how do you think you did?
I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, I couldn't see the lap time, so I don't know. The lap itself wasn't too good. I went wide 2 times, so already lost a lot of time there, so I don't know. Difficult to say.
Well, let's take a look then.
Oh my. Oof. That can't be right. Yeah. No, that's not too great.
He said
yeah.
the same thing, to be fair. I mean,
Yeah?
I think, do you know what I think it is? It's the pressure of doing like one single lap for you guys. It's like,
Doesn't help, but
No.
still, the laps before weren't that much better, I guess, but this one was definitely not the quickest. Yeah, just difficult jumping in an unknown rig, unknown how the steering wheel feels, pedals and everything, so yeah, we did pretty well.
if this had been coming from anybody else, I would have said that you're making excuses. But you've been really, really good and like you've shown a lot of integrity so far. Well, maybe there's going to be a chance for you to come back and try and smash that tie.
Yes, will be fun.
So now it's time for this episode's competition where you can win your very own HTC Vive McLaren VR headset. Here's Bono with the question.
So, it is said that I am named after a U2 singer, Bono. Is this true or is this false?
For full T's and C's, check out the description box below. So Bono, thank you so much for entertaining me and my weird questions this episode. I've had an absolute blast. I hope you enjoyed yourself.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's really fun.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. So in the next episode, we've got tons more from the world of McLaren and sim racing for you, including part 2 of our sim racing glossary, our Factor 2 tips, and we'll have yet another guest on the couch from the world of sim racing. So make sure you don't miss it by subscribing to the channel and hitting that bell to turn on notifications. And you can follow the very latest news from us as it happens by following @McLaren Shadow on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you so much for coming by this episode. Catch you next time.